A quiet morning at the Ocean View Retreat in Goa turned into a nightmare in April 2015. Room 207 became the center of chaos when staff discovered the lifeless body of a young woman, surrounded by signs of a violent struggle. Blood covered the floor and walls, broken glass was scattered across the room, and the once pristine space was in complete disarray. The victim was Anjali Varma, a newlywed enjoying her honeymoon with her husband, Raghav Iyer. But instead of a celebration of love, their trip had ended in tragedy. Raghav was missing, leaving behind unanswered questions and growing suspicion. What led to this shocking event? How did a romantic getaway turn into a horrifying scene? Before diving into the investigation, let's take a step back and understand who Anjali Varma was and what brought her to this point. Anjali Varma grew up in the scenic city of Kochi, Kerala. Her family wasn't wealthy, but they were deeply connected, with values rooted in education and hard work. Her father, a math teacher, and her mother, a homemaker, believed in creating opportunities for their children, no matter the sacrifices. From a young age, Anjali showed a love for learning and stood out for her sharp mind and creativity. Books became her world. She devoured stories about journalism, popular culture, and even storytelling techniques. Her parents encouraged her interests, making sure she participated in speech competitions and essay writing events. These activities weren't just hobbies, they were building blocks for her confidence and her ability to communicate effectively. Her early years laid the foundation for the strong, driven woman she was becoming, even though life had its challenges. When it came to higher studies, Anjali's academic record earned her a spot at a top communications college in Bangalore. This was her first step into a bigger world. She wasn't just a student, she became deeply involved in campus activities, leading journalism groups, organizing creative workshops, and attending media seminars. These experiences shaped her understanding of modern communication. After graduation, her first big break came when she joined a leading PR firm in Mumbai. The transition wasn't easy. Mumbai pace was overwhelming, but Anjali adapted quickly. She soon became known for her out-of-the-box thinking and the ability to handle challenging campaigns. Whether it was promoting a tech brand or managing a celebrity event, she delivered results. Her reputation grew, and clients trusted her with key projects. Yet, amid her rising career, she had no idea that an upcoming event in Bangalore would change her life forever. In March 2011, Anjali attended a high-profile business conference in Bangalore as part of her job. The event was glamorous, bringing together leaders from various industries, and she was there to ensure her clients' media coverage went smoothly. That's when she first met Raghav Iyer. He was the keynote speaker, representing his family's import-export business that had been thriving for decades. Raghav had a commanding presence, with sharp eyes and a confident smile that instantly drew people in. When Anjali was assigned to interview him, she approached him with professionalism, but their conversation quickly became personal. Raghav was impressed by her knowledge, and she was equally charmed by his wit. Before the night ended, Raghav asked her to dinner, a move that caught Anjali off guard but left her intrigued. What began as a formal interaction quickly grew into a connection that neither of them could ignore. Raghav and Anjali's relationship took off at full speed. He showered her with attention, romantic dinners, thoughtful gifts, and endless compliments. Raghav's charm wasn't just limited to her, he won over her family too. Her parents admired his success, while Raghav's wealthy family saw Anjali as a grounded, intelligent partner who balanced his impulsive personality. To the outside world, their relationship seemed flawless. Social media posts showed their adventures, from fancy vacations to cozy moments at home. But behind closed doors, things were not as perfect. Raghav started showing signs of possessiveness. He would question Anjali about her male colleagues or get upset when she worked late. At first, Anjali brushed it off as him being protective, but the small red flags started piling up, unnoticed by others. In 2014, Raghav proposed to Anjali during a candlelit dinner at a luxurious resort in Goa. The moment was picture perfect, with a diamond ring sparkling in the soft light. Anjali said yes, and both families began planning an extravagant wedding in Chennai. The event was a showcase of wealth and tradition, attended by hundreds of guests, including well-known business leaders and artists. Anjali looked stunning in a richly embroidered red silk sari, while Raghav matched her elegance in a white sherwani. The ceremony was celebrated with grandeur, and the couple exchanged vows, promising to stand by each other through everything. Their honeymoon in the Maldives was equally magical. They spent days exploring the islands, sharing dreams about their future, and enjoying each other's company. Life after the wedding began smoothly. They decorated their new home together and shared small joys like cooking meals and watching late-night movies. But as time went on, the cracks in their relationship grew deeper, hidden beneath the surface. The first year of marriage was full of happiness, but small problems began to creep in. Raghav's controlling nature became harder for Anjali to ignore. He didn't like her staying late at work or going on business trips without informing him in advance. What once felt like care and concern now felt restrictive. Then came the issue of having children. Raghav's family, particularly his parents, started hinting at their desire for grandchildren. As their only son, Raghav was under pressure to continue the family line. Anjali avoided these conversations, hoping they would go away, but they didn't. Raghav's frustration grew when she dodged questions about starting a family. One evening, after months of tension, Anjali finally broke down and revealed the truth. She couldn't have children. It was a fact she had known for years, but had kept to herself out of fear of losing Raghav. Her confession hit him like a blow. He felt betrayed and accused her of hiding something so important. This moment marked the beginning of a downward spiral in their marriage, with anger and disappointment replacing the love they once shared. After Anjali's confession, the dynamics of their marriage shifted entirely. Raghav, who once showered her with affection, began pulling away emotionally. He stopped initiating conversations, avoided spending time with her, and seemed lost in his own thoughts. Anjali tried to make things better, apologizing repeatedly for not telling him the truth sooner. But Raghav's hurt ran deep, and his resentment only grew. The pressure from his family about children didn't help either. Whispers from relatives and friends about the couple's inability to conceive added to the strain. Raghav, who had always cared about maintaining a strong public image, began to view Anjali as a source of embarrassment. While she tried to focus on her work and keep herself busy, he started staying out late, claiming work commitments or meeting business associates. Their once strong bond had now turned into silence and avoidance. The tension between Raghav and Anjali eventually turned into frequent arguments. At first, the fights were about small things: why she worked too much, why he was never home on time. But over time, the arguments grew more intense and personal. Raghav began criticizing Anjali for things she couldn't change, like her inability to have children. He made remarks that cut deep, leaving her feeling isolated and unloved. Anjali, despite her pain, held on to the hope that their marriage could still be saved. She suggested going to a counselor, but Raghav dismissed the idea, calling it unnecessary. Meanwhile, his behavior became more suspicious. He would return home late, avoid answering her questions, and became overly protective of his phone. Anjali's trust in him began to waver, but she tried convincing herself that it was all in her head. On April 10, 2015, Raghav and Anjali attended a dinner party at the Ocean View Retreat in Goa. The event was lively, filled with music, laughter, and a mix of prominent guests. Anjali, who always enjoyed socializing, was in her element, chatting with strangers and enjoying the vibrant atmosphere. Raghav, on the other hand, appeared distant and irritable from the moment they arrived. Tensions between them escalated when Anjali had a brief conversation with a waiter. Raghav's jealousy flared, and he whispered angry comments to her at the table, accusing her of being too friendly in front of others. Witnesses later described the interaction as tense and awkward. By 11:15 p.m., Raghav insisted they leave the party, and security cameras captured them walking back to their room 207, with visible frustration in their body language. What happened next inside room 207 was both tragic and horrifying. Guests in neighboring rooms reported hearing loud arguments, followed by the sounds of breaking glass and furniture being thrown. At one point, a piercing scream echoed through the hallway, and then there was silence. No one intervened, thinking it was just another couple's quarrel. The next morning, resort staff entered the room after receiving noise complaints from the night before. What they found was devastating. Anjala's body lay on the floor in a pool of blood, her white nightgown stained red. The room was in complete disarray. Broken glass, a shattered table lamp, and blood smears painted a clear picture of a violent struggle. Raghav was gone, taking his luggage and leaving no sign of where he went. The Goa police quickly arrived at the resort to investigate the case. They cordoned off room 207 and began collecting evidence. The blood-stained lamp on the floor was identified as the likely murder weapon, with fingerprints smudged across its base. A bloody towel was found in the bathroom sink, suggesting that someone had tried to clean themselves after the attack. The resort's security footage revealed Raghav leaving the premises in the early hours of the morning, carrying a small bag. Witnesses described him as tense and hurried, which only added to the suspicion against him. The police pieced together a timeline and launched a manhunt to track him down, suspecting he was trying to escape and cover his tracks. The search for Raghav led investigators to Bangalore, where he was eventually tracked to a small budget hotel on the outskirts of the city. Police surveillance and security footage showed his movements as he avoided major roads and public places, clearly trying to stay under the radar. Days after the murder, the Goa police, in collaboration with Bangalore authorities, raided the hotel where Raghav was hiding. When the police entered, they found a gaunt, exhausted man who looked nothing like the confident businessman he once was. Raghav was arrested without resistance, though he initially maintained his innocence. He claimed that Anjala's death was an accident and insisted that he had left the resort in shock, not out of guilt. But his story didn't match the mounting evidence. Raghav's trial began in late 2016, drawing significant public attention. Prosecutors presented a compelling case, starting with the forensic evidence from room 207. The blood-stained lamp, which matched Anjala's injuries, and the fingerprints on it tied Raghav directly to the crime. Witnesses described hearing screams and the sound of a struggle, painting a clear picture of what happened that night. Raghav's defense team argued that Anjala's death was an accident, claiming that she fell during an argument. But the prosecution countered with evidence of the violence in the room and the bruises on Anjala's body, which showed signs of a physical attack. They also highlighted Raghav's decision to flee the scene, emphasizing how his actions demonstrated guilt rather than shock. After weeks of testimonies and evidence, the jury delivered their verdict. Raghav was found guilty of second-degree murder. The judge ruled that, while the act may not have been premeditated, Raghav's reckless violence and failure to seek help showed a complete disregard for Anjala's life. He was sentenced to 20 years in prison. The verdict brought some closure to Anjala's family, but the pain of losing her remained unbearable. For Raghav's family, the trial was a harsh reminder of the consequences of unchecked anger and controlling behavior. The case also became a broader conversation about the dangers of domestic violence, with many seeing it as a tragic example of how seemingly perfect relationships can hide deep problems. Anjala's life, filled with promise and potential, was cut short in the most tragic way. The lessons from her story about love, trust, and the importance of addressing issues before they spiral out of control continue to resonate. While justice was served, the events at the Ocean View Retreat remain a haunting reminder of how fragile life can be when anger and control take over.